What's going on, guys? Welcome to the second episode of the South Asian Men's Space podcast. And like I said in the first episode, in this episode, I'm only going through an interview that I did last year with KennyMammarella de Cruz. I'll be reintroducing him and talking about him in this episode. And essentially, it's an interview with him talking about men's groups, men's spaces. And yeah, hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, I look forward to hearing from you. And subscribe, like, comment, share, all of those things. And look out for future episodes coming real soon. Thank you. What is going on, everyone? Today, I'm joined by KennyMammarella de Cruz, where we'll be discussing his men's coaching groups, where he works with men. He also has men's groups where he offers a room for men to speak up and be more vulnerable and allow themselves to be more authentic. So keep watching. Let us know if you have any questions, and I'll post Kenny's details below. So make sure you get in contact with him if you are interested. Take care and thank you. So, Kenny, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, and very impressed that you pronounced my name right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So for those people that don't know you, could you kind of give a brief kind of outline of what you do and how you got into that?
On the men's group side, I got into men's. I'd never been to a men's group. I used to have a marketing and publicity company when I first moved to London. We did lots of kind of pop star world tours and business launches and artsy-fartsy things, and it was great fun. And all my dreams came true and everything, and it was just time to either settle, marry my girlfriend and have a big business and probably get fat and rich, or something else. And I wanted to know what the something else was before settling and doing the default thing that everyone thought that I should do, that they wanted to do. And what was missing from my life was sunshine and choosing where I live. I'm a refugee from Uganda, and my family were on the Secret Service death list. So we had to go into hiding. Our phones were tapped, we were followed, there were people after us, so we went into hiding. We left my father there, we fled to the UK, we had British passports. So in essence, I was here running for my life, rather than choosing to be here. So I thought, I need to choose. I need my life to be approved of by me and to be in the center of my life, rather than doing what's expected. And even though I was living a successful life that, people thought this is how you should do it and this is what you wanted, I just thought, well, it's my life. And it might be what they think and it might be what society wants, but no, I need to check things out. So I kind of gave the business up and took care of my staff and clients and everything else. And I thought I was moving to Fiji, and I did move to Fiji, but life had different ideas, and there were coincidences here and there. I ended up meeting people in Sydney after meeting a woman in Singapore where I was changing planes and it was delayed by a day. And the people in Sydney followed me to Fiji and asked me to move to Sydney, so I moved to Sydney. I was in India because my family's from Goa, and while I got them to go there, we'd never been there before. I ended up working with Mother Teresa and dying people in Calcutta. So it was following rather than controlling my life. I learned to follow what life might bring me. And for me, that's the essence of what I think I do with people beyond the men's groups and including the men's groups, is enable people to move into a bigger life and follow life rather than being in control. And it's just the same old survival story with the same old script and the same old heartaches and betrayals and blocks and everything else. It's like, well, if I'm in control, then I will only allow what I've already had, which is pretty pointless, really. Yeah, I know how to survive it. Yeah, it kind of feels good to be in control, but control cost me my life. I was safe, but it wasn't my life anymore. So I lived beyond, and life took me places, and I had the most mad, magnificent, full of growth times. And then I came back to the UK, and I really missed my friends. I missed my friends. The people I loved the most were in this country, and I needed to see them again. So I came back, and I remember saying to one of my friends, I miss you more sitting with you now than when I was in Fiji, because you're not even here. You've turned into a bit of a loser. You're an addict and you're not going anywhere. What's going on? It was really, I think, courageous of me to say that to him. It was very painful for me to say that to him, because we were great. So cut a long story short, my friends got distracted by drink, drugs, love, sex, money, power, the usual things that are sold to us. And I kind of thought, well, you've lost your depth. You've lost who you are. You've just become part of this stupid, crazy machine, and you're crap company. So I kind of got about a dozen or so of them, mainly old friends, a few new friends, into a room. And I basically said, I'm starting a men's group. I've never been to one and I don't know what it is, but I need to be met at some depth. Otherwise, you're chucked. And I'll still come raving and partying and whatever, and we can still go camping and doing whatever we do, but I need depth. And this distraction with all these addictions bores me. So, bit cheeky, bit on the edge, but it happened. And that was 20 years ago. And then people got to hear about it, and people's lives changed. They got more self-aware. Life brought them more goodness. And their friends asked them, what's happened to you? And they said, well, you need to meet Kenny. You need to work with Kenny. Kenny, go to one of his groups or something. And it's not like they became me. They became them. And life could bring them bigger things so they could really grow into their lives. So that's where it started. And people heard. This is before the internet. And then I thought, well, I can't do this in my lounge. Who are these people? So I got premises, I got ground rules, I got some structure, and fast forward, I guess, 18 years, and we went into lockdown about 2.5 years ago. And I've been holding groups since, open groups, closed groups, even women's groups, mixed groups, training people to hold groups. And lockdown came. And a few days before lockdown, one of my friends sent me a message saying, I've got the COVID symptoms. It might be an idea if you isolate. So a few days before lockdown, I isolated. I became Mr. Zoom, and I did all my work on Zoom. But while I was on Zoom, I noticed that I kept looking out of the window, expecting to see the military. And I kept listening into the silence, expecting the gunfire to start again. And I realized that I'd flashed back to my childhood when we were in hiding, and there was military and curfew, and people weren't allowed to be on the streets or talk to each other on the streets. And there was a lot of gunfire around. And I thought, if I flash back, I wonder what might happen. Then the day that lockdown came, I started online daily men's groups, just 1 hour check-in groups, so people could show up and share what's going on, so they could name it rather than being triggered and having whatever fear or anger or trauma that they would then inflict on themselves and inflict on others. And since lockdown, domestic violence, abuse, alcoholism, it's gone, even suicides. We've had a lot of suicidal people. It's gone through the roof. So since then and to this day, we still hold daily check-in groups. And it's great. Blokes get aware of themselves. Blokes get to know who they really are inside rather than who they should be. And they almost undo the shoulds so they can show up to life. And it's brilliant fun with good community. And it saved lives. It saved marriages. It saves addicts. It saved so many things, and it's just like it's got success and connection written all over it. So how's that for a rundown so far?
Amazing. Now there's a lot there, and I think you got to the depths of what you do really well. In terms of, I think the main thing that kind of stood out as well, like you mentioned, you following life. And it sounds like when you were younger, there was a lot of kind of control of like things that weren't in your control, and going to that place of kind of following life. And to me, that surrounds like surrendering, letting go, being more intuitive. I could be wrong, but in terms of going through that process of where you were before, that trauma you suffered, to afterwards, what was that change like? Like, if you could describe it, how did it feel? How did you go from that stage to this stage? How did you make that decision?
Am I allowed to swear?
Yes, 100%. Go for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of that trauma, and then leaving my father there and being in refugee camps. And refugee camps weren't great, especially from the other refugees. I got well and truly fucked up. But that was my secret. I needed to be there for my mother, my brother, for us to survive. And my father didn't show up until months and months later. He was smuggled out to Italy. So I got very fucked up, but no one would know. On the outside, I needed to take care. On the inside, I developed obsessive compulsive disorder, Tourette's, I'd twitch and grunt. That was the only thing people could see. Eating disorders, trichomania, pulling hair, picking at skin, all sorts of things. I was a right basket case. And I carried on that way. That was survival. And in those days, no one knew these things. They didn't exist, Tourette's and, whatever. I needed to unfuck myself up.
Yeah.
I needed to be here and now rather than in the past or in the future. And my main addiction was in my head, trying to fix my fears and fantasies. And I find so many men can be compulsive thinkers, compulsive fixers, compulsive, what's wrong with me and how do I do me right? Where for me, and so many men show up like that in the groups, where generally there is nothing wrong with people. It's like, who are you rather than what's wrong with you? Who do you no longer need to be? And it's not about doing anything right. It's about being. And from the being, then an extension of the being is the doing. That's the expression. And if there isn't expression, then there's suppression that often turns into depression. And that can be very dangerous and really feed the compulsive thinking. And with my compulsive thinking, I didn't breathe. When people think, very often they don't breathe. And the not breathing can bring panic, absolute panic. The breathing can be dangerous because if I breathe, then I feel. And maybe I can't afford to feel. Or maybe I'm not safe enough to feel. Well, what I've learned is feeling is healing. Feeling into and feeling through things is the only way to set things free. And I have a lot of therapists who they'll do the talky stuff, people get it, but it doesn't necessarily shift or change their lives. So they send me their clients either to be a private client or to come to groups. So they're held and safe enough to be able to feel through and take part in life. You could say the groups are a stepping stone from isolation, whether it's with a therapist or on your own, into daily life. And I make them as true to daily life as possible. So in essence, I learned to breathe and I learned to get present. And it wasn't easy. It was scary. I also used to, I was guilty to eat because we were poor. And even in Africa, the starving Africans type thing. I saw that on TV and then I realized that actually they are in the same country that I live in. So there was a lot of guilt and issues around food. Plus I had body dysmorphia. What's wrong with my body? I look different, or, in Wales, everyone else was white. So I am different. I probably got hairier earlier than the other boys. And the whole changing room culture and stuff like that, especially around puberty, it's weird. There's no two ways about it. And people relate to that in different ways. So I needed to get present and let all of that go. So the way that I broke the spell was, firstly, I had to admit that all my thinking never fixed a thing. A lot of it was fantasy. A lot of it was fear. And I was trying to fix what didn't even exist, which means I wasn't present to life. If I'm not present to life, then I can't notice what life is bringing me, and I can't respond to it and live into a bigger life. All I can do if I'm not present and I'm in panic is attract the same old shit that I know how to survive. So I can pretend to be in control because it's the same old shit. I know this. I'm safe. This shit is familiar shit. I know what to do, and it's Groundhog Day. And I needed to break Groundhog Day. So I needed to admit that I was a control freak, addicted to my thoughts, and it wasn't going anywhere. So how to break that spell? Firstly, I needed to be grateful for that part of me that actually saved me. That was necessary in the past. Maybe it did save my life. But in the present, it was costing my life. It was no longer my life. It was a life that I dedicated to fear and survival. So I trained myself that as soon as I found myself in my head, obsessively thinking, pretty much lost in space, and it was the space between my ears. As soon as I catch myself there, don't even think to the end of the sentence. Don't even, think, I'm almost there, I've almost got it. Soon I'll get it and I'll be free and everything will be okay. Bollocks. Doesn't work that way. As soon as I found myself in that place, I trained myself to stop thinking and take a deep breath in. And as I breathe in, I include my head, that I get out of my head and into my body. A deep breath in. And as I breathe in, I thought, thank you for reminding me who I used to be. So I'm acknowledging my protector and those ways that saved my life. And it's a gratitude rather than an enemy. If it's something I'm pushing away and demonizing, then I'd actually feed it. But if I include it, acknowledge it, and give it gratitude, then it shifts. So breathing in, thank you for reminding me who I used to be. Used to be puts it in the past. And as I breathed out, I just took part with what's in front of me. Could be anything. Could be an email or the washing up or crossing the road or noticing that I have locked the door rather than I'm in my head and I walk down the road and I walk back to check if I locked the door because I didn't notice because I was in my head. And then I thought, okay, I need to do that, but I need to get used to breathing. So how do I do that? And then I started playing games. Like every time I saw a blonde girl or a bald man or a red car, or every time I heard something, or every time I walked through a door or whatever it was, I take a deep breath in. So I put things in the environment to bring me here and now in this environment rather than in my head and in the past and the future. And I had to get present. So in a way, that's how I broke the spell. Does that make sense so far?
100%. No, that makes sense. In that sense, the type of breathing you're talking about normal breaths. Do you incorporate breath work as well into your kind of weekly routine, or is this more separate to that?
This is a different thing. And for me, I'm not really one to have what a lot of people do, including a lot of my clients are kind of like leaders of men, or what do you call them, men's coaches or blah, blah, blah. And a lot of them, to be frank, have their routines. And if the routine's not there or they've missed something or it's not right, then they're fucked. And it's all, and a lot of people, they can be stressed or traumatized or workaholics or whatever. And then they go to the edge and then they go away camping or do a retreat or whatever it is they do. And then then they're okay. And then they come back to get fucked up. And then they get, for me, it's about here and now. And it's about daily life. And I'm not saying routines are bad or anything. They're great. And I've done breathing practices and I've done all sorts of diets and everything. And it's fine. It's very, very good. But the bottom line is here and now and every moment, as far as I'm concerned.
So it's about living in that experience as opposed to, spending 90 days doing something and then, going back to your old self. It's almost like you're making that constant change, that shift into that new identity on a daily basis.
In a way. In another way, it's making the shift and adjusting back to here and now rather than chasing okay.
Okay, yeah.
It's coming from okay, and when out of alignment, adjusting back to here and now. Can I take it one step further?
Yep, go for it.
So what I do in my private sessions, and I've done this in groups as well, is when people get to know the part of them that showed up when they were in trauma, call it the inner protector.
Mm-hmm.
Then they realize that their inner protector has got enmeshed with them and is running and controlling their lives. And that's the part that will do everything to keep them in control and safe. And the protector's job is not living. The protector's job is surviving.
I think, yeah.
And that's why that protector is there. And in essence, thank you for reminding me who I used to be, is thanking the protector for saving my life. But now I don't want my life to be saved. Job done. I'm safe. Time to live. That doesn't mean demonize the protector. It means, what does the protector need? Well, same as I guess I needed when I was a refugee boy, was I needed my father to show up. So I don't have to be the little boy pretending to be a man, taking care of the family, but there is a man there and we're safe. Generally, this doesn't actually happen in people's lives because the only man or woman or adult that they need that shows up for them is the man inside themselves. That is the part of them that can go beyond survival and into living. That's the part that is able to respond to life and safely move into a bigger, better life rather than react to life and demand the same old script and the same old story, and it's back to survival and in the head. So what I do in it's voice dialogue is the technique, and it was started by Doctors Hal and Sidra Stone, and I've seriously updated and changed it. I do it online as well as in the room, where people literally move. They move chairs, and I speak to their protector, and I get to know what the protector needs them to know. When the protector showed up, everything that the protector's trying to tell them, the stuff they've forgotten, the needs, etc. And then that part is on side and willing for change as long as it's safe. And then we go back to center, and then we get to meet the man in them, or the man that's waiting in the wings, or the man that wants to emerge that doesn't have any space, or doesn't know how, or hasn't had a man to model themselves on. But they get to meet their inner man, and then the man in them needs to listen to the protector and be consistently present. So being present and connected isn't my fear. You could say it's my love, or you could say it's my presence. And here, I can respond to the world and I can move forward safely, because rather than the protector taking care of the vulnerable child, with the man in me present, the child in me can be safe.
Yeah.
With the man in me present, my protector isn't offering my child to any woman to mother, or any man to tell me I'm good enough or okay, or anything like that. It's like, no, I'm the person that takes care of this child. I'm the one that's going to make sure that things are okay. And therefore, the man in me can meet other people with boundaries and begin the merry dance of life.
Yeah.
And it could be in relationships, it could be with work, it could be with purpose, it could be with passion, it could be with money, with friends, with anything and everything. But if I'm not going to meet life and have boundaries and be able to adjust and negotiate the boundaries, then basically I'm fucked and I don't exist, and I'm coming from am I rather than I am.
Yes.
Am I is giving power to anyone and everyone, It's like, am I safe? Am I good enough? Am I rich enough or muscly enough or smart enough or funny enough? Or am I doing my job right? Am I going to be sacked? Am I going to be chucked? Am I going to be humiliated? And it's all giving the power out. It's am I? And that's the vulnerable child being offered to the world. Someone take care of this child and make it safe. It's not going to happen. Where I am is I'm in alignment with myself, and here and now I'm safe. I'm present. I'm connected. The child in me is safe. I'm breathing. And very often all that child needs to know, it's like, it's all right, I'm safe. You're safe. You're safe, I'm here. Job done. What I did was avoid him. You are a pain in the ass. I'm trying to survive. Fuck off. I'm busy.
Yeah.
Maybe one day when I'm safe. But that's got to be here and now. And then it's like, okay, that's not working. What do I have to do? Oh my God, don't tell me I have to dress like a kid, take it to Legoland and explain why I was such a little bastard to it.
Yeah.
That's torture for a child. All it needs to know is, no words. You're safe, I'm here. What do you want? And very often, the man in me can listen to the child in me, and it's like, go into the countryside with my friends, or be creative, or be expressive, or be safe enough to hang out with people and have a good time rather than be in my head rehearsing my lines, trying to maintain my place in the stupid pecking order that just doesn't work for anyone anyway.
Yep.
The magical thing that happens, well, two things actually, is with the man in me holding the child safe, the protector's not sacked. The protector needs to make sure and remind the man in me to be here, because the man should have the child, not the protector. That means the protector is free with impeccable tools, that when the man in me takes a step forward and responds to what life brings me, then he can inform me of what to watch out for. So it's creative and living into a big life, which is the love, rather than the fear of, oh my God, everything's going to go wrong. How do I survive this? So the protector can work alongside the man. And things are a lot more solid and safe and dynamic and creative, and there's space for love and purpose and passion and personal power. But as a man, it's not power over people. It's being empowered and being able to empower other people. And for me, the big difference between boys and men is boys need to be in control. And they react. And there's the pecking order. And there's the fear of humiliation and abandonment, where men can respond.
Yeah.
Men can listen. Men can collaborate rather than just compete. Men are comfortable with and work with their feminine side. And without the feminine side, there's just a scared boy who's unable to have relationships or any depth, because there are fires to put out and everyone's the enemy. So that is a huge shift with the from am I to I am. And it makes a man whole, so much more whole, with a heart to follow. And it's that frequency that the man puts out, holding the child safe, that will attract the goodness way beyond the control that the protector could attract.
Yeah. I'm also happy you mentioned the feminine side there, because that leads me to my next question. So you mentioned the feminine there, and I guess there's a lot of controversy, topic, conversations going around what is masculinity. And I guess leading a men's group, you probably get a lot of different people coming in with different opinions. For you, what is masculinity versus femininity, and how do people see the difference?
It's a loaded one.
That is, yeah.
And for me, what's really important is authenticity. That includes masculinity and femininity. And sometimes, if, for example, there is, let's say, a fight in the street, then I guess the masculine part of me, which is, call it yang energy, which is out there, it's loud, it's hard, it's more expressive. That's the part of me that might stop the fight or make sure people are safe and take part, get involved. Once that's done, then the feminine part of me might see if anyone's hurt or if there is anyone who, for example, needs to be held because they're shaking, they're traumatized or something. Sadly, boys rather than men are scared of femininity. They're scared of being called a girl or gay, or in the old days, everyone was petrified of being called a poof. It was shocking. Where's the space for any feelings? Where's the space for any depth? Where's the space for any authenticity? Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, and very destructive. Where's the space for a father to care for his son? And there were so many fathers that needed their boys to be ruffians, to do masculine for them, to show their stupid friends just how cool they were because of their it's like absolute nonsense. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's not about masculinity or femininity. It's about authenticity, being true to yourself. And if you're more of a masculine man generally or more of a feminine man generally, who cares? It's about, in this moment, what's true, what's appropriate. And I would say any supercharged masculine person at the right moment should be able to extend to other people with his or her feminine side, if that's true and appropriate. And any feminine person, if there is danger, let's say there's a child in trouble or whatever, extend from the masculine side and stop it. But I think what a lot of people do is basically what I call money, muscles, and monkeying about. If I've got lots of dosh and big muscles and I've got all the talk, then I can be the alpha male and everyone will respect me and like me and think that I'm cool and blah, blah, blah. Like, if those are the people that you're trying to impress, then you're a bit of a dick, really. Be true to yourself and be clear about your environment. Who have you attracted in your life and why? And do you actually want to be like them? Mm-hmm. And another one of my addictions was that if everyone likes me, then I'll be safe.
People pleaser.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. A nice guy and all of that stuff. If that's true, then it's impossible. Like, how could everyone like me? Because different people like different things. And then I thought, wait a minute, there are a lot of people that I don't want to be like. Surely their disapproval would show me that I'm on the right lines.
Yeah.
That's feedback. That's very, very good feedback. But the whole, and this is so to do with social media as well, the whole flashing the cash or the bling, the whole muscles and implants and gym addiction and God knows what that people do. The whole pretending to have friends. Like, bullies don't have friends. They've just got people that are scared of them.
Yeah.
Or people that want something from them. But if I can show these things, then I'll be good enough to connect with, is what people consciously or unconsciously think. And basically, I say bollocks to that. Cut out the middleman and connect now. Show up. Maybe it demands a little bit of vulnerability, but this is where it's like, show up, hold the child in you safe, let the man in you show up. And it's not about being vulnerable, it's about being true. And I was brought up that boundaries are bad things, but the misunderstanding was between boundaries and barriers. It's not about having walls against people. It's about having a place to meet people, and that's intimate. And once there's been a meeting, then there's a negotiation of getting closer, getting further, getting to know each other, knowing how to dance the merry dance of relationship and of boundaries with individuals, with groups, with life itself. But a man can hold the boundaries. And the boundaries are, you could say, feminine, where the masculine is all out there, all bullying, all loud, take this, or invisible. I'll be whoever you want me to be. I'll be nice. I'll be calm. I'll give you a stupid grin as soon as you look at me, because then you know I'm nice and we're all nice and safe together.
Mm. And in your men's group, the people that come there, what can the viewers watching this expect in that group where you help them through this, I assume?
What I love about the groups more than anything is that they're non-hierarchical. So whether I'm facilitating or one of the people I've trained is facilitating, we hold the space clean so everyone can show up, but no one tells anyone else what to do. What we do is we share our experiences. So in a nutshell, the way that the check-in groups that are on every day, and they're by donation, the ones that started during lockdown, everyone reads the ground rules, and before it starts, people either agree to the ground rules, which is what happens 99.9% of the time, but everyone's given the invitation of, is there anything you need to change? Because the ground rules belong to everyone in the group, rather than these are our laws that we will inflict on you, otherwise you're out. But it's like, these are our agreements. And one of the ground rules is play bigger than the rules. Because when you play bigger than the rules, then you could be met on the edge. And that's where people get to know themselves. Rather than playing small and safe, it's like, no, play big and find out who you are. Find out who you no longer need to be. Find out who's going to emerge from you. Find out what's true to you. So, and then obviously there's the confidentiality. People can say pass, so there's no pressure. Most male spaces at some level comes with a fear of abandonment or humiliation, where that's not the case yet. Pressure's taken off and it's just held safe. So agree to the ground rules or change anything. And then we have 2-minute silence to just get present, to breathe and get here. After that, people are basically asked their name, how they feel right now, and if there's anything specific that's up for them. What could be simpler? They're asked their name even though it's on the Zoom screen, because by stating your name, you're taking your space, and the group belongs to you as much as it belongs to everyone. It's like announcing yourself and including yourself. And other people, I believe, can't include you until you include yourself.
Yeah.
I believe that the way that I treat myself is the way that life will treat me.
It's a reflection. Life is a reflection of you.
Exactly. And then how you feel right now, well, it's a feeling. Very often people don't know how they feel. Or they might know how they felt when something bad happened. But it's like, how do you feel right now? And that gets people present right now. And in a way, that question can piss people off, because they can come into the group feeling scared or angry or whatever. But as soon as they're here, it's like, actually, I feel okay right now. And they're allowed to say, but before I came here, this, or this is what happened this morning, or whatever it is. But it gets people here and now. And then people get to name what's up for them. And that's the check-in rounds. And we have enough facilitators in the room that we break into smaller groups, into, breakout rooms.
Yeah.
And the facilitator hears what people have in common, or if anyone's in trouble and what's going on. And every group is different because it depends on who's there, what's up, what the mood is, what the weather's like. Is there a full moon? Are people up for a fight or vulnerable or what? And then it has a life of its own. So people get to talk about themselves and their experiences, and the way that everyone learns from each other is they learn from other people's experiences, how they've succeeded and how they failed. So they don't have to do the solitary kind of life path on their own and make the same mistakes that other people have made. Why not learn from other people, work backwards and get it right?
Nice. One last question, and again, it's potentially loaded, but what's your take on toxic masculinity?
Toxic masculinity is quite vile. And there's a time and a place I remember I lived in a big house and we had scaffolding up. And they were suddenly, and it was alarmed, suddenly a load of the local kids were running around on the scaffolding. And without thinking, I was out of that door and I shouted like thunder. And they were off that scaffolding and they didn't come back. Is that toxic? Maybe that's toxic masculinity used in a positive light. Same as if you are in a war zone, it's like, it's not the time to kind of like process, I feel vulnerable and I'm scared I might be shot at or whatever. It's time to be present and to do what needs to be. I'm not necessarily saying kill people or stuff, but there's a time and a place to just be present and for the yang energy to work.
Yeah.
The football field could be a good place. But again, it's an expression that shouldn't be harming other people.
Yeah.
And that's a yang expression. Strangely, I would say it's toxic femininity that can crumble the strongest man. And again, this isn't about male or female. This is about masculine energy and feminine energy, or yang energy and yin energy. And toxic femininity, and I'd say a lot of men sadly do this to themselves, is criticism.
Yeah.
Or withdrawal, the silent treatment, abandonment. And when people are withdrawn from by their partners, or criticized, or humiliated, they crumble. It really hurts. It presses. So this is another one of the tools that I use all the time. So when I train people to hold groups, I give them tools so they can serve people. So people have very simple, efficient, immediate tools to use.
Yeah.
So for example, if someone comes in to a group and they've had a row with their partner and their partner's withdrawn from them and they're really angry, then generally behind the anger, if they breathe, they might find sadness. What people do in society generally and stupidly is, I'm in pain. I'm in real pain. So if I can cause this pain to the person that put me in pain, then they'll know what pain I'm in and they'll stop. Obviously, that never happens.
Yeah.
People think, why is he harming me? No one's going to think, maybe it's because I did it to him and I'll get... It never works.
Yeah.
But behind anger is very often sadness. And what I get people to do is, in the anger, breathe into the anger, feel the anger, and follow the feeling back. Where does it take you? And in a split second, they might know what's really charging the anger here and now.
Yeah.
Where's that energy coming from? Same with the sadness. Breathe into the sadness, follow the feeling back. Why is it such a big deal here and now? And I believe that most of the time, people are not angry or sad for the reason they think they are. It's not about what's going on now. It's about way back then. And it's not about the interaction with another person, who's right, who's wrong, and who needs to punish who, and how to get closure and completion so they can... It's not about that drama. It's about the person in front of you loving you enough to fuck you up enough to matter enough to stay in the relationship and work it through, and then follow the feeling back as individuals to get self-aware. And then that hurt, vulnerable child needs to be held safe by the man, present and connected. So you're feeling back into the past, you're feeling through that and meeting that time and place. And, you know, an incident like this in a men's group can save years of therapy, because it's meeting a time and place that simply needs to be met, not avoided, not justified, not understood, not talked about for years on end, but met, safely met. And when it's met, then it shifts. And when it shifts in the dark shadow, in the past, or in the neglected, or the suppressed, then it opens up in the gold shadow, which is the possibilities. And for me, that's the journey of life, is being present and connected here and now, seeing what's triggered in the past and being with it, letting the man hold the child safe, letting the protector off the hook here and bringing things present and connected, and letting that go. So life opens up in the future or in the present to enable a better future. One last quick little thing is a safe child is a magical child who can be connected with spirit or with love or with nature or with creativity or with God or whatever it is you want to call it. When people are in survival and trauma, there's no space for any of that.
Yeah.
But when you're present and connected, not only do you have a protector with brilliant tools to be a great advisor, but there's also the voice of love, nature, connection. So guidance can show up. And it's a much better trip.
Thank you for coming on today. For those people who are looking to reach out to you, find information, where can they find you? I'll put the details down in the description below. But yeah.
Cool. So it's mensgroups.co.uk for the men's groups, and it's themanwhisperer.co.uk for my private work. And both sites are, to be frank, not updated and pretty crap, but hopefully I'm going to spend June getting it all up to date. Meetup.com/MenSpeak is where you go to join the groups. MenSpeak, Men's Groups, CIC, we're now a community interest company. So, we do it all by donation, and everyone I've trained volunteers for free. But mensgroups.co.uk, themanwhisperer.co.uk, and meetup.com/MenSpeak. And that's where we list all of the groups, the daily groups, the live groups in London or elsewhere, the retreats, the trainings. There's one that I love called The Self-Aware Men, where people get feedback from other men about how they come across.
Nice.
And how to adjust so they come across more true to themselves, more dynamic, more powerful, more passionate, and irresistible.
Love it. Thank you again, Kenny.
Absolute pleasure.